Good morning. This is XPulse AI Morning Mix. Today is Saturday, April 25th, 2026. We're leading with Google's massive new commitment to Anthropic, then a surprising chip buying move from Meta, and a reality check on healthcare AI. Joining me is Orion, ready to jump in?
Ready, let's do it.
We're starting big. What did Google just do with Anthropic?
CNBC reported on April 24th that Google will invest up to $40 billion in Anthropic, expanding cash plus compute capacity. It reportedly starts with an initial $10 billion in cash, then more funding and compute commitments tied to milestones aimed at scaling products like Claude Code.
$40 billion is not subtle. What's Google buying here? Control, capacity, or insurance?
Mostly capacity and positioning. Anthropic needs gigantic, reliable compute to ship and serve at scale, and Google Cloud wants a flagship AI partner. It also keeps Anthropic closely aligned with Google's infrastructure, so the growth shows up as cloud demand, not just model hype.
And if you're a company picking a model provider, what does this signal?
Stability. Big multi-year capital plus compute tends to mean fewer we're out of GPUs moments and more predictable enterprise roadmaps. Also, $40 billion is the kind of number that makes every other partnership meeting feel underdressed.
Staying with infrastructure, Meta is buying chips from Amazon. What's the story?
TechCrunch reported on April 24th that Meta agreed to purchase millions of Amazon's homegrown AI CPUs to run agentic and other AI workloads. It's a marquee win for Amazon's custom ARM-based chips, and it shows big buyers are experimenting beyond Nvidia GPUs for certain tasks.
CPUs, not GPUs. Why would Meta do that for agents?
A lot of agent workloads are orchestration heavy. Planning, tool calls, retrieval, and tons of small model invocations. Some of that can be more cost-effective on specialized CPUs, especially if you're optimizing for throughput per dollar rather than maximum training performance.
Does this change NVIDIA's grip on the stack?
Not for frontier training, yet. But for inference and agent plumbing, the market is getting modular. GPUs where you need raw acceleration, and alternative silicon where you need cheap, scalable execution. The interesting part is Amazon turning chips into a product with proof. Meta is proof.
Now to adoption. Healthcare AI is everywhere. Are patients actually better off?
MIT Technology Review reported on April 24th that healthcare AI tools, like ambient scribe systems and diagnostic assistants, are already widely deployed, but there's limited rigorous evidence they improve patient outcomes. Clinicians and researchers argue accuracy metrics aren't enough. We need outcome-focused studies and stronger evaluation.
So what's the gap? Bad models or bad measurement?
Often measurement. A tool can transcribe perfectly, yet still increase clinician workload, shift liability, or change decision-making in subtle ways. And if deployment changes workflow, you need controlled studies to see downstream effects. Fewer errors, faster treatment, better recovery, not just the model scored well.
What should hospitals and vendors do differently starting Monday morning?
Bake evaluation into rollout, define outcome endpoints, run pilots with comparison groups, track bias and escalation rates, and keep humans in the loop where stakes are high. In healthcare, seems helpful is not a clinical standard. Unfortunately, it's a common purchasing standard.
One more on Anthropic. There's also IPO chatter. What's Axios saying?
Axios reported on April 23rd that Anthropic is facing operational and strategic turbulence, even as revenue reportedly surged, tripling to roughly $30 billion annualized. The piece flags risks like product restrictions, scaling challenges, and governance questions that could complicate an eventual IPO and valuations rumored in the hundreds of billions.
If revenue is that big, why the turbulence?
Because at that scale, reliability and policy become product features. Restrictions can frustrate customers, scaling can expose quality issues, and governance questions can spook public market investors who want predictability. Hypergrowth doesn't remove risk, it just accelerates the consequences of mistakes.
Does Google's huge investment reduce those risks or amplify them?
Both. More capital and compute can smooth scaling, but it also raises expectations and scrutiny. When you're taking 10-figure tranches, you're effectively promising you can turn infrastructure into durable, repeatable revenue, not just impressive demos.
Let's do a fast lap through funding, valuations, markets, and policy. Keep it tight.
Bloomberg reported on April 24th that Stanford professor James Zhu is raising for a startup called Human Intelligence, targeting around a $1 billion valuation to build AI models for human physiology research. Crunchbase News on April 23rd says Cloneable raised $4.6 million seed to clone expert workflows into agents for utilities and infrastructure.
On human intelligence, what does AI for physiology actually mean?
Think models that help scientists simulate or infer how biological systems behave, turning messy biomedical data into usable predictions for research and drug discovery. The pitch is less chatbot for doctors, more new engine for lab work, aiming to speed up experiments and hypothesis testing.
What else is moving? Coding startups, big tech valuations, regulation, consumers.
Tech Funding News, citing CNBC, said on April 24th that Cognition AI is in early talks to raise at about a $25 billion valuation after acquiring Windsurf. The Economic Times reported on April 24th Nvidia's market value crossed about $5 trillion again. The UK House of Commons Library issued an AI and employment law briefing on April 23rd. FinTech Global, summarizing an EY survey on April 24th, says consumer AI use in financial decisions is nearing half globally, led by Gen Z.
That's your fast lap, clean and sharp. That's XPulse AI Morning Mix from XPulse for Saturday, April 25th, 2026. Share it with someone who'd find it useful. See you next time.